And my speech will start in three, two, one. Opposition is building a world where people will actually instantly solve their problem of trauma when they watch a trauma plot in media and art. So basically, coming to this motion today, as affirmative, we believe that the main stakeholder in this debate are consumers who consume those kinds of trauma plots. Because with the rise of trauma plots, specifically in media and art, more groups of people are beginning to watch this, and ranging from children, teenagers, people in their 30s or 40s, and even the elderly. And this motion is all about which side will be able to bring more benefits to consumers, given the fact that now the prominence of trauma plot is gaining its popularity. Specifically, we want to clarify the fact from this entire debate is that we never say people suffering and people sharing their traumatic experiences is actually bad themselves, but we're saying the fact that trauma plot is now being put into media and art, into movies, into TV series, into books, is bad because of its gaining popularity among many groups of people around the world nowadays. So, a couple of things that Artside wanted to make clear before stating the clashes in this debate. First of all, who are the group of people that are more likely to be prone to trauma plot, and why has it gained more prominence in today's society? We believe that the people, even though everyone can literally watch trauma plot, but there's many evidence that show that people who experience trauma themselves and who have anxiety themselves are more likely to be able to consume this kind of trauma plot. And we'll go in depth in the clashes as to why this is so bad for them, because we believe that we have explained this in the first and second speeches. Secondly, opposition can't continue saying that this reflects how trauma is like in real life, and it gives people an understanding and brings more awareness, etc. This is completely wrong since, first of all, opposition has to do with the fact that people's experiences are different. Some might feel comfortable, like some might feel uncomfortable in this situation, but not for others, and showing random people suffering on different issues may not always be the most effective way to bring awareness to these issues of mental health. And instead of bringing awareness to society, it will have the opposite effect since it will imprint on a person's mind to view how trauma will actually look like. And opposition can't also say that this is the solution to help people realize that trauma sufferings can be overcome. And we'll explain more in the clashes. So, first of all, coming to the main clashes in this debate. The first clash here we talked about is the effects on audiences. For the effects on audiences, what has their side proved to us? First of all, their side proved to us how this will be educated and how this will bring moral awareness to people all around them. They create this perfect world where people, when they watch those trauma plot in media and art, will instantly feel better about their own experiences and will have sympathy for this. This belief here is not awareness, as we have proved to you. This creates overemphasis of trauma plot, which leads to bad normalization, because when we overemphasize something way too much, it becomes normalized. For example, bullying happened literally across the globe, and there's so many bullying happens nowadays but still cannot be solved because people has normalized this already. People think that bullying happens and there's no solution to this specific issue, and we believe that a better alternative is that children will be better accompanied by their loved ones from the very start, because weighing between the fact that people who are suffering and they have someone beside them to help them, and then this person watch some kind of trauma plot movies, we believe that the first one that we propose to you is a better alternative, because when you're suffering, it's better to have your relatives around you rather than over consuming yourself with a lot of trauma plot in the first place. And sometimes trauma plot do not provide people with a solution to their problems. It will only make matters worse, because by providing a cliffhanger, because opposition cannot guarantee that this will help them. A good example of this is a movie called Beautiful Boy, based on a real story about a boy suffering from drug addiction. The ending is the main character died due to the overconsumption of drugs. So there's no guarantee that this will help people view trauma sufferings in a new light. This will help them think that, oh, there's still solutions to my problems, because not every single story has a happy ending. And in this specific example that I give you, this person basically died from drug addiction, from overconsumption of drugs. So the person who watches this movie and maybe is an addict themselves will only feel worse, because they believe that their problems will never be solved after watching a trauma plot movie like this. And So we believe that our side, well, what we have proved to you is that we proved to you how this affect people's mental health and how this is detrimental to people who experience some trauma experiences themselves. And we also propose to you an alternative that it's better for you to be accompanied by someone, especially your loved ones or your families, to overcome this problem together. The second clash is on the awareness on trauma experiences. The other side, they prove to you that this will provide the emotional insight and a new perspective of a person going through trauma. And this will create a societal shift on how people view those individuals. And they also prove they, like the second speaker on the other side also said to us, how this will encourage sympathy and empathy. Note the fact that this is actually famous, so which means that when audiences they're constantly exposed to trauma plots, the repetitive nature of these narratives can lead to emotional fatigue. So rather than actually evoking sympathy, viewers may become too desensitized to the pain and suffering depicted. The other side, they mentioned to us that when people watch those kind of movies, they're well aware of the movie being traumatic. They're well aware. This is not true because they have never said this in their framing, and they have never told us how people will be fully mature to know that this will be bad for them. And like they also said to us, they have a choice. For example, recently I watched a show called Squid Game, and before I watched this, I have no idea that this will be too bloody and too violent because the main character on this is also based on a true story, even though the games are not true in real life, but the main character is based on a true story outside. So I have no idea that this will be so violent, and I stopped watching right away because like this is really bad for my brain and for my studying. It creates distraction. So we believe that rather than just evoking sympathy, it will actually like desensitize the pain and suffering, and they will just like players and like viewers will just see it as just another sad story rather than just call to action or empathy. And some people even feel joy when watching people being violent or being abusive in the movie themselves. And this undermines the ability of the media to foster genuine emotional engagement with the issues being portrayed themselves. And people may actually feel numb instead or like moved to care or act because like know the fact that trauma in media is often dramatized for entertainment. So even if the story is real, but when it is put into a TV series or when it is put into a book, it will often exaggerate it or detach from real life struggles, and this will not fully reflect the real issues in real life. So therefore, on our side, we prove to you how this, instead of creating more awareness, will have the opposite effect, and people have many other alternatives to creating awareness as well. Like for example, in schools, teachers can teach this, or at home, like parents will fully educate students on this. So at the end of the day, we believe that our impacts are better because we create a society where people view trauma as something that they should work on rather than viewing trauma as being normal, because the other side, they basically built a world where trauma plot is overemphasized and people think of this as something really normal through because of its popularity. So very proud to propose.